And we'll open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the
of the
United
States
States
of America
and to the republic
for
for
which
which it stands,
one
one
nation
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
liberty
and
and
justice.
justice.
justice for all.
We have the trustee roll call, please.
Okay. Frank Maupin,
Here.
Dottie Williams,
Here.
Tom Carroll,
Present.
Don Kincaid,
Here.
Britt Bourne,
Present.
Dan Lehan,
Here.
BJ Yetter,
Here.
Steve Imhoff.
Here.
Okay.
The reading of and approval of the board minutes for August 13, 2019 regular board meeting. Has everyone had a chance to go over them,
Yes.
read them?
Yes. I move for approval of the minutes. Second.
It's been moved and second for the approval of the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The minutes have been approved. Any additions to the agenda?
Nope. Somehow they're on mute. And I can't take them off. Can someone take them off? Mute.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Can you guys hear
Can
us?
you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. With report of the district clerk treasurer. That's the year-to-date financial expense, so forth.
All right. First, you should have the year-to-date financial report in your packet. One thing that's interesting right off the bat is 100.110 in the income for Hamilton County Auditor. We're actually over when they thought we were going to be under. So that's good. It's got to be delinquent real estate taxes coming through. So you'll see that we're over budget by 70,000, which is great because we thought we were going to be under budget by 100,000 because of everything and the corona and everything. So that is very good. Let's see. Just wanted to mention in donations, 100.155. The chief's grandmother passed away, Helen Cassidy, and she was a council member in the village of Silverton years ago. We actually have received donations in her honor for almost $1,000 now.
Thank you for that.
Yep. The only other thing really to mention in income is 100.190 state of Ohio. We've only received half of that, but I believe that we should get the other half very soon. I think it's in November when the other half comes. We'll go down to expenses. Everything is pretty much on target. We've started the fourth quarter now. So one thing I will mention, 200.016 workers' compensation. I don't know if I mentioned this before. The reason it shows that we haven't spent any money on that is because right before the end of the year, we went ahead and paid that last year. So we're not going to need that much. Maybe this money is going to be paid for next year. So we won't spend that money necessarily. We went ahead and paid it last year. if you have any other questions, that we did purchase the radios. Everything else is really on target. The chief has really been trying not to spend too much money because of, COVID. We weren't really sure. Let's see, the second page. Again, everything's pretty on target, and actually we've spent way less than we probably would have this time last year. Total expenses, we've spent 68% of the budget. And as far as income goes, we've received 92%, which is good. And that's because of that extra delinquent real estate taxes that came in. So that's all I have for that, unless you have any questions. Next, we'll go to the expenses by vendor detail for August and September. If you have any questions on those. Nothing out of the ordinary. Did anyone see anything you have questions on?
Report? Any concerns?
Okay, I guess next we'll go into the proposed 2021 budget. I just want to show you something real quick. The resolution that we're going to have tonight is to accept the rates that were determined by the Budget Commission. If you want to pull that resolution real quick, it should be right under, or it should be the last thing I think you might have. There's only one resolution. And if you look on the last page, which is Schedule A, summary of the amounts required from general property tax approved by the Budget Commission. And this is what we get. This is kind of interesting. I'm not sure how many of you seen this or so closely before, but on the top it says general fund. We're supposed to get $1,449,705, and that is based on millage of 7.9. If you go into the second part, Schedule B, it'll show that we had a levy November 7th, 2006, and that was our 6.4 mills. And to the right of that shows the amount we get from that. And then it shows May 7th, 2013, that's when we had an additional 1.5 added on. And then 275,000 is how much we get for that. So the total is, we had those two different levies, but the total is actually 7.9. That's how much they say that we're supposed to get. However, with the COVID, they didn't want us to budget that amount. They wanted us to budget, I think it was 3 or 5% less than that. So I did. But so I just wanted to show you that. And then we'll look at the proposed 2021 budget. So really the difference in what I projected in 100, 110 and 100, 190, those two together under income, the difference is like 28,000, which hopefully we're still going to get, but I just wanted to mention that. Columbia Township, per the contract, it's going up a little bit next year. Looks like this year was 59,559, and it's going up to 69,292 next year. I think I'm pretty low on the interest there, but you know, I guess it just kind of depends on what happens. And again, this is just we're we're going to ask you to pass the appropriations, the true appropriations for 2021 in December. So this is just a proposed budget. Not a whole lot of differences. Salaries, 200.002. It's up a little bit from this year because it includes the 2.5% increase that the union full-time employees actually get this month. It's a year since the union came together. Everything else is pretty on target. The only thing I wanted to mention, what new is the monitor, 300,039. The chief's going to talk to you about that if you would like to get a monitor. They were going to let us make 3 payments in 3 different years. It's a 0% lease type of thing. And then I'll mention on 300,048 training, I added 3,800 for the chief's what is that, executive training school that you're going to go to? And we're going to pay that off in a couple of years, but the first year, that's how much it's going to cost. Really, if you want to look on the last page, which we'll have, I put $5,000, but I think we're able to get another year of agreed upon procedures, which is where they don't go through every single thing, but because our audits have been good and our budget's pretty low, that's why we qualify for it. And it'll be less than 5,000, but I'm not sure how much. And other than that, that's all I have. If you have any questions or changes, or yes, or Tom.
Yes, thank you. It looks like a very good, tight 2021 budget. I appreciate it. All seems to be well accounted for as always. So thank you, Belinda. My question is really kind of related to the year-to-date financial report, as well as the budget and how the two tie together. So just bottom lining where we are year-to-date, we're on pace. If I look at the first column in the year-to-date financial report, we're $250,000 positive on net income. However, go to the next column and in the budget, we're negative 270. So there's over $500,000 swing in where we are today and where we are. And typically, if I'm not mistaken, Belinda, we always budget conservative. We know that revenue exceeded the forecast, thankfully, by 70,000. But the budget for 2021 seems to be similar to the second column, again, budgeting a deficit, an operating deficit. Do we have a sense really where we think we're actually going to wind up 2020? And given how successful we've been budgeting, this is maybe directed to the chief, maybe to you, Belinda, to be conservative is one thing, but then if you're conservative instead of accurate, then maybe the swing is substantial to me, I guess is where I'm going with that. It's a substantial swing to go from showing an operating budget of $250,000 deficit to actually being $250,000 for the good. Great problem to have, not being critical, just wondering how that relates to where we are cash-wise year end. Where do we think we're going to actually wind up? Or how close are we going to be to a deficit or a surplus in 2020?
At this point, I really don't think we're going to have a deficit. I mean, these two kind of wash each other out. I think we do budget a little bit high in expenses. I honestly, I don't think we're going to have much of a loss, if anything, this year. And I think we're still going to carry over, over $1 million that we had from the prior year. In fact, this budget, we trimmed down 100,000. The reason I think that it's so low right now is because the chief is trying not to spend, because of the COVID, a lot of these line items, and I'll let you talk to him about that, of course. But I think I really don't think we're going to have a loss. We always say we're going to have a little bit of a loss, and we don't. And the chief can probably speak to a little more of that, since he comes up with a lot of these amounts and gives them to me. You want to answer that, Chief?
Yeah, so some of what we did too this year, we're deferring some of the small, well, I guess not real small, but they're capital things that we would do around the station. Again, was really because we didn't know what this COVID was going to do to us. I mean, we heard horror stories about, some of these municipalities having issues, even breaking even. So things that we wanted to do, some more patchwork on the driveway, we deferred. There's some interior carpeting we were deferred again this year. Again, it just, every place that I thought that we could maybe trim back and go a little bit more conservative just to get money back into our reserves where we wanted to go. So, and again, this year we've actually been pretty good. We haven't had any huge maintenance costs this year that were out of the blue. So that's good. So again, and I've told you guys this in the past before. I probably do everything I can in this budget to keep us solvent, more so than I do my personal budgets at home. So I look at these dollars a lot closer than I do, and I just, even something simple as the monitor. I know those come up. Steve Imhoff had suggested perhaps we replace the third one while we're at it, and I guess in the grand scheme of things, if we pay $12,000 or $13,000 a year and have 2 new monitors, it probably doesn't really hurt us financially. But when I see that, it just, I want to do everything I can to make sure that we're not heading out for a levy sooner than we need to. And so that's kind of how we've taken the approach, is wherever we can not spend, I've been not spending.
Yeah, thank you. I know BJ's going to weigh in. I guess I would thank you for those answers. I would just weigh in that as we look at the 2021 budget, Denny and Belinda, if there's anything that we are deferring in 2020, which is the right thing to have done, and I appreciate you having done it. If there's anything that we wanted to tackle once we get this fiscal year under the belt, I would support having some contingency line item in the 2021 budget that if you deferred, whether it's a driveway or something else you want to do, another monitor, whatever that is. I'm surprised that for the village of Silverton that the 2020 budget is turning out to be pretty good overall.
Good.
And so having done exactly what you did, Chief, in terms of tightening, that was the thing to do. But now as we get into the fourth quarter of the fiscal year, starting to say, okay, we know we're going to end up okay based on everything we've seen so far. So I'm supportive if you're interested in the 2021 budget moving forward with a modest, reasonable amount of deferred expenses from this fiscal year.
Okay, but obviously we do have some time between now and the final budget in December. So that'll give us a chance to do some reassessment and then again, fine tune where we are at the end of this year. And then make sure you guys are presented that before the December meeting.
And we can certainly tighten up the 2021 budget if you all would prefer that.
My feeling, I have to echo Tom's comments. I think they're great. And my only thing I'm a little concerned on is where we're going to be with EMS billing in 2021. Have you gotten any feedback from the billing folks in regards to any reduction in cost or anything like that, as far as, where Medicaid, Medicare and all going to pay, Chief?
We haven't received anything from them yet. We typically get that information closer to November, early December is when they make their rounds. And obviously a big chunk of billing is down because we no longer have 170 responses in the Amberley Village every year. And then we also have seen a significant drop because the COVID impacted a lot of repeat calls or calls that maybe weren't as significant as people were using us to take them to the hospital. I think there was a fear by a lot of places, a lot of people in the public that they didn't want to go to where the sick people were. And that's across the board. Even when we talk to the fire chiefs at the county level, they've all seen a similar drop in EMS run response this year. And a lot of it, I think, is resulted because people don't want to go where they think they're going to get sick. So I don't really anticipate seeing an uptick in the EMS, at least not on the near horizon. I mean, it hasn't. We're still below our week-to-week average from a year ago. Even when you get rid of the Amberley Village total, we're still down. I think about 200 runs from last year. I think is what the report showed. So it's been a significant drop off.
Well, Deer Park's surprisingly coming back strong with from the income tax stuff, and I think we're doing pretty good at this point. But my biggest concern is those revenue sources coming back to you, and that's the only thing I have. I echo what you're doing as far as the deferred maintenance and stuff like that. So I have no questions. I think it's a good budget. I think, quite frankly, the belt tightening works, and unfortunately, we all got to suffer through the changes that are out there. So thank you.
So would you like to see something different?
I'm satisfied with what you got now. That's just me, okay? So I think the adjustments will come during the quarter and at the end, and then you'll look at that when you do your final appropriations for next year.
Yeah, I would agree with BJ's comments, and or suggest that if you've deferred any kind of expenses in 2020 that have already been appropriated, and as we get into the fourth quarter, if you want to go ahead and make those, I support those expenses. Again, with a conservative philosophy, but now that we're at this point in the fiscal year, there's a lot less that can go wrong on the revenue side, and so I think it's prudent if you want to proceed with what's been deferred. That's up to you, though.
No, I think to proceed with the way it's going will be fine. And as you say, as we get closer, then make the adjustments. Other than that, Denny, you've been doing a good job by cutting back the spending, and I pass through there every now and then, and and things seem to be going pretty well. So, Belinda, excellent
Yes.
job. Keep it going.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and make a motion. We approve the district clerk's reports.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And now we're to the report of the Director of Operations, the Chief.
Okay. Well, I think we just kind of covered some of that along with Belinda. So you should have had in your packets the written report, kind of outlining where we are to date, significant incidents, the information about the heart monitor, which I think now we can maybe discuss about perhaps getting the second one that will position us well into the future. Again, I was just trying to be conservative with what we were doing, but again, I would feel more comfortable having all three of them modern, with the right technology, the right software, the right warranties. So if that's something that the board would be willing to approve, we can adjust that line item for next year, and we'll get two and be as modern as can be. We're still kicking around some things that we can do with the Lucas CPR device. I checked again today on the federal website, and I don't see any money coming our way for that. I know BJ was looking into some information with Deer Park about some of the COVID money you received, but it doesn't sound like that's going to play out to where you can use that money to send those devices our way. Is that my understanding?
Here's what the problem is. I've been in touch with the county, and I'm sure Tom has been too. This is a moving target. There's no real good, clear direction about sub-grants and things like that, and how you gotta be careful with that. So I suggested to the municipal league today that they engage legal counsel and give us a little boot by point by point with some of the questions that are out there, because we're not the only ones in this boat. I have no problem moving forward and helping the fire district out with the Lucas device. The problem comes is that's got to be a justifiable expense, and what are the rationale behind Deer Park doing it, and you know, all the things that go along with that. So it gets to be a little tenuous. And my thing is, more than anything is, I know Silverton's in the same boat we are. We all getting this money, but it's, you got handcuffs on you. So I just want to be very cautious where we move forward that way. And I'm still waiting for an answer from the Office of Budget Management and Budget from the state.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Dan.
I just did receive email, I believe it was yesterday, Belinda forwarded it to me, that actually Medi-Cal sent it to her, she sent it back to me, but it does indicate that there's going to be another large disbursement of federal money. Again, we're sitting down and looking to see if we qualify for it, since we did receive some initially. So again, that might be something we can even if we don't have a specific use, maybe we can apply for it, have it in the bank for when they get some of these rules straightened out. And that's kind of the thing that we looked at with that first CARE grant money that came through Medi-Cal. We weren't even sure what we were allowed to spend it on because there were no rules in place, and we didn't want to spend it. And then we told we got to write the federal government another $10,000 check next year because we used it improperly. So I understand exactly what you're saying about the moving target. We kind of feel some of the same things. I know at the county chief's level, they're kind of seeing some of the same things. There's money there, but they don't know what to do with it, and they're kind of leery of spending it.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this, Village of Silverton and City of Deer Park are receiving CARES funds from the county. BJ, I don't know how your opinion is, but we're represented by Dinsmore and Scholl, and they say it's okay to spend it on police. So we're planning to do that. And that helps quite a bit in terms of the expense side.
You can take that to the bank, Tom.
I do. We're not necessarily, as long as that opinion is bankable, we're good, and it helps quite a bit. So if there were any CARES funds that are in excess of what we could receive $1 million of CARES fund, and that would cover our police and dispatch for the village. But where I'm going with that is if there is an excess of CARES revenue for either the village or the City of Deer Park that we can't purpose, I guess maybe is that where you were going, BJ? Can those funds be directed to the fire district? Is that where you were going?
I think that's where we can go. And one of the, Tom, that was a question I had to again today, as I know Dinsmore's made an opinion on that, but I'm just double checking in regards to funding the police and dispatch, because that'd be a big help for us. But the biggest problem I got is that what little bit that we have received so far, I'm very cautious in walking forward, because the big stigma came from the auditor saying, well, if you don't spend it the right way, then you got to return it, and there's a penalty, like the chief mentioned. So Tom, you and I ought to have a sidebar conversation about this.
We should. In the case of this fire district, it seems to me that our expenses are relatively fixed. If CARES money were spent for things like personnel, which is a lawful expense according to the I think the Department of Treasury guidelines, then that would simply add to the fire district's fund balance.
Right. And
if it had to be repaid, would be in the exact same fiscal position where Belinda forecasts us to be at the end of 2020. And so if there are excess funds for Deer Park and Silverton, we should talk about it. So maybe BJ, you and I should have that sidebar.
Okay.
I just have a question. Is there an expiration on those funds?
Yeah.
Well, yes, there is. On some of this, the filings have to be, right now that's up to November 20th. Is that correct, Tom?
It's
January.
encumbered by November 20th and spent actually expended by December, I think December 28th or the 31st. I don't remember, but it's, yes, there are deadlines, Steve. There are some efforts by Senator Portman and Brown to get those dates extended, but I won't have a hard time doing it by then.
I don't see getting much help on extending the deadlines during election season. So
they're pretty occupied with Supreme Court and
yes, I agree.
And
speaking of election season, that does bring up. So we are still the site for Silverton for all precincts. So even though we do obviously have concerns about COVID, I didn't think it was right to not. We can shut down our facility enough to where we're not going to interact with the general public. They'll be limited to the training room to vote. So I saw no reason to not let Silverton residents vote where they've been voting for years. So we will have people up there that day. We're going to limit them to the training room, use just the Blue Ash Road door, so we don't cross-contaminate anybody as we go about our daily business. So Tom, if you would let the Silverton residents know, it's for sure at the firehouse on first Tuesday of November. We'll be there. So,
and I appreciate that, Chief. And this is certainly not a year to add any confusion to the election. So I really think that I commend you for that. That said, I live in the Silverton Fire District, Columbia Township, and I vote in Silverton at Silverton Elementary. So if we ever want to consolidate those voting districts, we can have that conversation another time. But I appreciate the district making that available.
And then that's actually all I have for this evening. Did anybody have anything additional for me? All right.
Hey, did you decide to use any of those funds for the sheriff's department?
Yes, Tom.
I'm just throwing a question out there. I'm assuming
So public safety, police and fire are both lawful expenditures. All police and fire are essentially considered repurposed and therefore CARES eligible, according to the Department of Treasury guidelines. So yeah, that is, as you, Dottie, will get our Silverton 2021 budget and upcoming fiscal report, you'll see that the CARES dollars are tremendously helpful to offset some of our expenses, essentially, for law enforcement.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on the subject or for the chief?
Oh, I have another question for the chief. We have Halloween coming up. Are you doing anything, or is that going to be off the...
That's something we've been debating back and forth with. I haven't come to a firm decision yet, one way or the other. We've been out every year. I think it's a great public service. I think it's, from a safety perspective, having big fire trucks on the street tends to slow traffic down. Personally, I go out and do things. I wear my mask. I don't feel at risk. Though I have some employees though that just come to work and don't do much else. So at this point, I'm leaning towards, even if it's just a skeleton crew with the duty crew and myself, get out there. Again, the kids love to see us. I think the parents appreciate slowing traffic. So at this point, I'm leaning towards, yes, doing it like we've done in the past. We've given up away so much this year of things that we couldn't normally do that I'd like to at least do something that, is fun. So that's where I'm leaning.
What about something at the fire station itself where the children can wear their costumes and
I wouldn't necessarily have them come in and do anything like an open house, that type of thing. And we even tossed the idea around where we could set up a table out front. But actually, as we drive around Halloween, because of where we're located, there are not a lot of kids that go past the front of the firehouse, but just because it's in that kind of business district. So it's probably better that we're out and about rather than have people come to our place.
I agree. Being on the front line like that, we need to keep you guys well so you can take care of us when needed. So I think the best thing there is, you said, if you're going to do anything, sit a table out. But other than that, don't need them running through the firehouse or even on the property as much as possible.
Yeah. Like I said, no, I think we can manage the risk as we're driving the truck. I mean, I think we'll be okay. Again, I don't want to, I know there's been a lot of debate back and forth how things go, but at some point, I want to do something that gets us back out and makes people happy. So we'll try that.
A drive-by bag or something.
We can just drive by like a parade and just toss it out and
Throw it.
Get out the fire prevention stuff.
We haven't done anything this year. 2 years ago, we did our first open house, and then last year we did the open house / 20th anniversary party. Again, this year with just the COVID thing, we pushed it back. Didn't do anything. We've been doing inspections of the schools because they are either partially open or they do have staff there over at Silverton. So we've been doing those types of inspections, but we're not getting out. Still doing a lot of the smaller places. Again, just trying to limit our exposure and then limit the exposure that we might bring into somebody else accidentally. So the PR has been kind of on the back burner, and we'll kind of see how things open up this winter. We'd like to get back to it. We miss being in the school. We miss having tours. We miss having the parades that we've been involved with over the years. So I guess we'll kind of see where we are in January and reassess then.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, anything else for the fire chief or on this subject? All right, hearing none. Reports and statements by trustees on old matters. Are there any? Are there any statements by the trustees on new matters? Okay, hearing none.
Don, I think we should either take a vote or bring it up. I think we should move ahead with buying or getting the 2 new monitors. I think if they're going to give 0 interest on it, it's a perfect time to update your monitors at basically only the cost of buying it at the price that it is.
Yeah, and they're giving us a good deal. With the trade-in, they're knocking it from 25,000 down to 18,000 per unit. And again, for those that might not be familiar, obviously everybody's seen a heart monitor on TV. Maybe you've had one hooked up to you in the hospital. Ours also have transmission capabilities, and that's really the biggest thing, is that we can transmit your EKG to the hospital. So for chest pain patients, especially, if we see that EKG has what looks like some type of heart attack type issue, if we can transmit that to the hospitals, they can actually get things going faster when you get there. There's times we don't even go to the emergency room. They bypass us and send us right up to the cath labs. So it's a vital piece of technology that obviously is very useful, has life-saving applications, and it's also required by Hamilton County to run a paramedic unit. So it's something that we can't do without. But as BJ said, now would be the time that we can afford to do this, pay for it over 3 years at no interest. And after this discussion, I would certainly recommend that we go with 2.
So I'll make a motion that we go ahead and go with the 2 monitors and with the 0 interest over 3 years.
Second that motion.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion is passed.
All right, I thank you for that, and we will get the paperwork going on it tomorrow morning.
Okay, and thank you. Okay, at this time, we're at the public forum for comments and questions. Anyone?
I don't know that they can speak, but they can type in a chat if there's any questions, and we'll get it. And I don't see anything,
Nope.
so.
There aren't any.
Okay.
Okay. Deliberations of trustees regarding the district matters, operations, finances, any proposals, resolutions, or enactments at this time.
We have one resolution. Resolution number 2020.07. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
Has everyone gone over the resolution?
I'll move.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second for the resolution 2020-07. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Roll
Aye.
call.
Aye.
Roll call.
Whoever
Okay,
can.
I'll do roll call. Frank Maupin,
Yes.
Dottie Williams,
Yes.
Tom Carroll,
Yes.
Don Kincaid,
Yes,
Britt Bourne,
Yes.
BJ Yetter,
Yes.
Dan Lehan,
Yes.
Steve Imhoff.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
okay. Well, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Hearing none. The resolution is passed. At this time, are there any readings of noteworthy district correspondence or communications?
That was a great job on the stop at the credit union.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was fortunate that actually the time of night that it happened, it was actually a patron from Brothers Cafe saw it and called it in. And the pictures I provided you guys don't really do it justice, but the amount of wood that is up inside that attic space, astounding. It's unbelievable, and there's no access to it from inside the building itself. And it was, I know that was done. That was a flat roof originally. I think that other roof was put on sometime in the early 70s from what I've seen in some pictures of the area. So yeah, so in, 40, 50 years, nobody even thought about having a scuttle access. But we worked with them. For those of you who don't know, that credit union is actually, that has all the computer center for that entire credit union is in that back part of that building. So we've talked to them since to kind of make sure that we understand that if we are in there with hoses and water, that we try not to drown their computer systems. But hopefully, we made a recommendation that they put some smoke heads or heat detectors up in that section of the attic for future safety. So we're pleased with how it went. Again, it could have been a lot worse, but somebody noticed something and called 911. So we're very happy about that.
Good job.
Yes? Somebody saying something? Oh, okay. Let's see. Adjournment of the meeting.
Move to adjourn the meeting.
We've had a move. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and second to adjourn the meeting. So said, so it be. Thank you, everyone. Very good job.
Thank you all.